me in that last issue, of course.
Did you know? Back in 2479, the experiment to use balls made of granite was not a success.
The team knows its opponents. We can launch the game!
I hope you've prayed enough. I know I have. Now let's play!
Welcome back, Blood Bowl. There's the Bloodwiser gate. One team is obviously more skilled than the other. It's hard. unusually good at moving the ball about.
You just gotta hit 'em square on, Jim. They'll go down like the scabby bags of fur they are. You wearing perfume, Jim?
No, it's a scent. Very different from perfume, Bob. Do you like it? It's called Rotting Cadaver by Tommy Hilfiger. Freezing cold and snow. Surely they can't play Blood Bowl in this.
Why not, Jim? Blood Bowl's an all-weather sport. The more extreme the conditions, the more fatalities there are. It's perfect Blood Bowl weather.
It looked like that stew on the menu tonight. Ha! 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 The team have possession.
Pass. This isn't my bag.
I'm aware. Sure, we'll see some senseless violence soon. Not a wise place to end your turn on the border of the pitch. If the player gets pushed into the crowd, well, the last time that happened, it took 3 days to piece the body back together.
Smells weakness. Wouldn't like them. Hey, what's that? I love the sound of the Skaven when they're in pain. Sounds like victory.
Ah, we call that Nuffle's Kiss.
That's it. Get in their face.
Sometimes cute animals like this forget the sport and embrace their wild side.
We should be on his Twitch live, so I'm still tuning in. I see it in Cabalish, and I still started. And I don't know if Sasso has the opportunity to let us know what were the inducements or whatever. Cool. Oh snap! This is the third game in a doubleheader. In a triple header? What was the first, the one before yours?
Oh gosh, that was it was NTB and Yates Yobs, I believe it was.
Oh yeah. That's what you were announcing that one. I tuned in for the first half, then I had to go. So we got Stuff and Junk in the party too, listening in as well. So both coaches are in, and looks like Blizzard game, and the Princes are doing what the Princes do. They're pushing down the field. They don't like to waste time with stalling and all that stuff. They're looking for a high-scoring affair.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing pretty good positioning. They got a bit of a sideline cage there with a side stepper, so that's fairly safe.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the rover all the way across the field like that. Seek and Destroy. We read about him. So he is finally getting a shot on the field in what looks like a Goblin Gambling free team.
Coming to help his buddy. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be having any issues with this this particular game in Goblin Gambling. I don't think I don't think the Princes are affiliated with any shadow operations or anything like that either. So should be a fairly clean game.
And I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this right now at this stage. I was going to ask you, how are you enjoying your freedom? Is it constantly looking over your shoulder, or?
That player is about to get
I've got to do a press release on it a little bit. It's not the freedom that everyone has. It's one of those where you kind of you've got to watch where you go, who you talk to, that kind of stuff. It's not something where it's just, I get to walk down the street like a normal person. You have to take precautions because, those threats are still out there.
Right. Makes sense. And
speaking
if you guys don't know...
Speaking of threats still being out there, a threat to score at any moment is the High Elves, and they're going to walk this one in for a 1-0 lead.
Rack here. Removing his helmet
I just have to admit, as far as, uniform look, the Princes have one of the best looking uniforms. I mean, I know that the High Elves love hearing compliments on that, and I hate to give it to them, but I mean, when I first saw them, that was one of the first things that I thought, is that's just a damn good looking team.
All the knockout players are back on
the sweet crimson and cream.
Maybe I don't like it as much anymore. That sounds dirty.
Strike back would be terrible.
The ladies love the crimson and cream.
So yeah, it's a two-turn score for the Princes, and the Ratlings are next up. And yeah, looking at the Ratlings, they have just a bunch of really nicely skilled players. 2 players with horns, which is something you don't normally see. But yeah, they have 2 horned gutter runners, which is it's something a little fun and different. And then they also have 2 heads on the 1 gutter runner also, which is just such a dangerous skill. It makes dodging pretty much an AG5 kind of approach. So it's awful difficult to stop some of these players that Stuff and Junk is bred and developed here.
The Repulsive Ratlings did not have the best record last season, but they were definitely a threat in every game. I think they were just building last season, and now you might see them, kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah, and that's one of those where they're still operating at a lower TV than a lot of the teams. But I think it's one of those where as they develop in that they've got the building blocks for just an absolutely scary Skaven team. That I know that several of the other pro Skaven coaches look at this team and just they see some of the talent they have, and it's just like, how's the person going to stop that once this guy gets blocked or different things like that. So the last few pieces have been getting put on some of these players, and it's they're primed for a good season. That I believe between them and the Scuttlebutts, that one of those 2 Skaven teams, for me, I think is going to end up making either a nice run into the playoffs or just lock up a bowl game early or something like that, because they both are very well developed and ready to kind of make that next step. Looking at the Ratlings, they don't have any guard on their team, though. It seems to be about the only thing that's missing for them to really make that next step in bashing.
And Sacerdotalis' immense coaching skills can factor in here. That extra training he put on his team during the week was just right, and you'll see it pay off later.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, he's got the team set up in a shifted defense. This may be they may be trying to bait the Skaven into moving into different areas of the field so they can divide and conquer. And Seek and Destroy is not being very well behaved. Needs a little extra training to get his first block moving, and this is going to lead into a dangerous frenzy. And Seek and Destroy comes through successful, taking out the guard piece with a armor break to go with it. That stuns him and also puts that tail in a very opportune position for making it difficult for the thrower and other players to operate and move around that prehensile tail.
That's just a very, very risky move to start out with your loner, because see, if that had gone wrong, it could have this would be completely different. And knowing the way Sasser likes to play on defense, you would have seen a bunch of elves fly downfield to the ball and mark up a bunch of other rats.
And that's one of those where it's going to be interesting to see how this blizzard's going to impact this game long term, because both of these teams do have the ability to throw it around a bit, and with the shortened sight from this blizzard, it could be difficult for either team to really get the offense going the way that they really intended or wanted it to.
And even more so, the other impact of it is that the rats are noticeably faster than the elves, although the elves are more agile. But the Sasser does, in my experience in calling his games and playing against him, Sasser likes to push the go for it when he can. And in a blizzard, going for those extra yards, taking those extra steps can be more disastrous. There's a higher risk of being disastrous. So it'll be interesting to see how the elves deal with maybe having a worse chance of catching up with these rats in a foot race.
That player is the one to use.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of those where this next defensive response is really gonna let us know what's gonna be the pace for the elves. If they decide that they want to drop back in columns and force the rats to outmaneuver them, and then just slowly try and pick them apart little by little, or if they're gonna try and swarm and put a lot of pressure on. So it's early enough in the game where it'll be interesting to see what approach of defense they're going to take for this opening drive.
Sasagos definitely adapts. He is an adapter. But if I had to guess, I mean, how they call, PC crowd likes to call on offense running the one guy down the field and leaving them within scoring range. I'm sorry, on defense, in case you free the ball up, they call that CK-noring, right? Well, I would say on our PlayStation crowd, for the MML specifically, running one or two guys down that field and trying to wall off the rest of your defenders away from that guy with the ball. If I had to pick one player to represent that, the guy that does that very well is Sacerdotes. You'd call that sassering.
Yeah, he's had a lot of success. He started off, with the Wood Elves, with the Seattle Treops, and he's changed over to the. Yeah, he's changed over to the High Elves. They just give him a little bit a different build and different player setups, and yeah, he's always had a lot of success. And I think this is one of those where we're going to see a lot more of that in the future with his new team.
And there's one of the gutter runners with the horns that we were talking about, and Sasser's going to try to pick him off with Cimmeral, his catcher, his unskilled catcher. That does not quite go the way that he wanted it to.
No, but it still puts that threat in the backfield now.
Yep.
So that will do enough to just add that little bit of pressure onto the thrower, because the Princes are going to be looking to do a lot of scoring, and similar to like Texas Hold'em and poker and stuff like that, where he's going to want to put the other coach into a point where there's pressure on them and they have to make a decision, and then he's gonna play a little bit reactive to that decision now. So he didn't commit a lot upfield, but it also just puts enough pressure that each turn that they try and hide that thrower back there, it's going to be another turn where he can reposition and slowly creep up until he has everybody kind of in the position that he wants. And now he's rolling out a bit of a screen. And And I just want to take note that they did leave a AG5 strip ball player back as a deep safety too. That I think that may get lost on the screen for a lot of the viewers, but there is still that one player deep as a protective safety. So if they do try and throw a potato player up the field or something like that, that they're that they are equipped and set up that even with the columns may not be perfectly positioned, that they do have that next line of defense.
That's Yirkun. I don't think he set any records or made. I think I remember him from the league leaders in one of the categories. Yeah, he actually is a. He wasn't the conference leader, but he did have 5. He was fourth in the first 4 conference last year in terms of biggest brutes. So he knocked out 5 people last year. So he's not a slouch.
Yeah, and he's got that build that we're seeing a lot of, the AG5 leap, strip ball player. And it's a difficult player to stop. You can try and cage, you can try and super cage, you can put guard all over the place, but a talented coach is going to find a way to get that one die block on your ball holder. So it's really one of those where you're looking at a player that's set up to do some particular things, and it's one of those where he's gonna find a way to best utilize that.
And remember, he was like you said, he was the Seattle Treehawks coach, so he had a skill with Wood Elves, but I think Sasser was kind of tight. He didn't really like the way that the team leveled up. He felt like there was some bloat, and he was tired of also seeing his players die. And I think he is you're seeing a high elf team, but built with the War Dancer reinforced over here. That's what Yirkun is. Better armor, the leap is still there, the blodge is still there, better agility, and the strip ball.
Yeah, and that's one of those where I think you're gonna see a lot of these high elf teams and these other teams. They're gonna we've seen a lot of the dark elves coming in this way, where they will come in with a set of skills that looks a lot like a War Dancer or some of these other high value pieces, because they know the success and the threat that type of player can bring to the field. It just takes one successful blitz to pop that ball loose, and then with a player upfield and in scoring position like they typically like to do, then it's off to the races. So either one of these teams, if the ball's loose, they're going to have players in scoring position. It's the type of build that opens up another tool in the toolbox for these coaches.
And are the Blitzkriegers built that way now? They're in your conference, right?
The Blitzkriegers pretty much own the mold and copyrights for that style of play. The Blitzkriegers have 3 players that are AG5 and have leap. So it's one of those where if they want to, they can pretty much cage dive their entire team into your cage.
And they will. They'll do that. With no regard for the possibilities of failure.
I have to imagine at some point this season we will see a game with the Blitzkriegers where the Blitzkriegers will not only dive in a player and break the ball loose, but then they'll dive in a different player just to pick the ball up and run away with it. It's just
or pass it out.
Yeah,
over everybody's head.
Their style of offense is just no holds barred, just pedal to the metal, and they just they will not stop, and they will just keep throwing more and more stuff at you. So it's always fun to see what they're going to do and what kind of the next turn's going to be with that style of team and coach, and with players being available. And in the league with these builds, it's just amazing to see the plays that come out of it.
I like to say the Blitzkriegers play for the highlight film, not necessarily for the win.
They are the highlight film. I mean, we've seen so many absolutely insane things.
Ooh, nasty right hook on Liam the Quick, and he's gonna be hurt.
That's gonna stick too. I don't think that player's coming back this game, and that does dislodge the ball. So it'll be interesting to see if they make a play at this ball this turn or not.
Do you think that Stuffing Junk may have got too ambitious with the sideline run up that way, pushed the guy too far, and could have dealt with a little more patience?
Well, I think the pressure is going to be on him no matter where he runs. I think if he could reposition his players a little bit next time up the field, that he probably would. But it's still one of those where he had to take a little risk because he had to get far enough ahead not to get caught from behind. He also was in a little bit of contact with a few players in that, and it's one of those where he had to take some risk at some point just to try and keep pace with the scoring in that. This is going to be one of those. And there was the goal for it that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That they needed the one extra, move for positioning, and it comes in and eats up a reroll.
Yep. But he's fortunately for Coach Sasser, the Princes have a bunch of rerolls. After this turn, there'll be 4 turns to go, and he's got 1 for each turn.
Oh, and the armor breaks keep going. And that's gonna put a little bit extra protection on that ball right now. It's definitely not what I would call safe, but at the same point, we've seen a lot riskier ball locations, and now they're gonna put the scoring threat upfield. That is a catcher. So.
Yep. Remember, with the blizzard, no more than you can't do more than throw a short pass. So there's gonna have to be a relay to get it to him, I think.
Well, I believe the short pass is what, 7 squares. So they may be able to walk it close enough. It's quite a ways. It's that the first distance is like 4 squares, 2. And then 3.
Quick pass, just 2, I think.
Yeah.
Quick pass, and then 3 becomes the short pass, and then I think it goes all the way to you're right, 6 or 7. Yeah.
6 or 7. So I mean they've got good movement. I think they can get there without having to do a relay, but. I have to imagine the Rats are going to have a little something to say about that before it comes to that particular point. The one thing that I do want to point out is that out of these teams, only one player on both teams, out of all these players, only one player has tackle, and I think that's going to be the big difference is that we do see a lot of these AG teams do lack that tackle because they just don't take it because they can generally just get in a shootout and rely on that. Where I think the Bashy teams have started to pick up more and more tackle to try and offset all the dodge that's in the league. But we're now starting to see a lot of these these dodgier teams pick up a piece or two of tackle because they know how powerful it can be.
Yeah, I mean tackle is. It sucks when you walk into a match and you notice that you've got a lot of bloat in regards to just that match by having a bunch of tackle on a team that has no dodge. But when you play an elf team and they're full of dodge, that can just be really, really frustrating your opponent. We were just commenting in the last game on your match. Looks like the Power Hour is like specifically built in mind to crush elf teams with all the tackle and tail and all the different skills. Ball stripped, by the way.
Yeah, and that was one of those where I didn't even notice the strip ball until the last moment there when the gutter runner lifted his clawed hand right into that ball and just popped it clean loose. So that's 2 turns in a row where the ball is landed up on the ground again, and with it being cold out there, I wouldn't be surprised if the PSI on that ball may have accidentally gotten lowered from league regulated levels.
Deflategate.
The player could
No, I was going to call it cold ball gate, actually.
Cold ball gate, I like that even better. Well, I don't like it, but I like the title.
Well, that's why we stay up in the booth where it's good and warm.
Definitely no cold balls here.
So, something I want to just highlight quickly here is the tactical player also has frenzy, and I think that's going to come into play real soon because the one skill that I'm not seeing a lot of on the Skaven here is sidestep, and if a frenzy player can get a hold of one of these, I may have spoken too soon. Frenzy down and stunned, so that threat's going to be out of the way for a little bit here.
Ooh, red die block. The Rats get ambitious.
And that was time ticking down, I think. That was one of those where it might have been a touch of a panicked move there. Trying to get those last few blocks in and not seeing that it was a red die block. That I think the guard piece may have came into effect there and thrown that one off.
So So that's going to be costly.
Well, this is going to be another one of those. There's so much strip ball right in that area that I think this is going to be one of those where it's going to be a real question of which coach is going to be able to get the ball, up and out of this area quick enough, to get it free and moving. Because other than that, it's just going to be turn after turn of, strip ball slaps it down. Next one, strip ball slaps it down. Next one, strip ball slaps it down.
Yeah, they're built the same way. Very little tackle, a bunch of dodge, a bunch of
strip ball knocks it down.
No sure hands. They strip the ball this time. It goes right back into Yurkun's hands after he just finished stripping it. Not optimal, I don't think, though, for the Princes because, obviously now they can't move that player and he's sitting there ready to be stripped again by Slinich or wrestled.
Yeah. And that's one of those where it's right now this is the difference between like two bashy teams. You put the ball on the ground and they're just going to be going nuts, creaming each other, mighty blow all over the place, claw, pylon. It's going to be a guard, a guard fest. They're going to be moving the pieces tactfully and that kind of stuff. Where you get these agility teams and they knock the ball loose and they're trying to figure out, okay, it's more important what they do away from that ball than it is what they do immediately there, because what they're doing away from the ball is setting up the score, positioning the players to open up passing lanes and that stuff where, like me, bashy team, I just look at it and go, well, just hit that guy and then get the ball from him. Where here you're seeing the coaches covering players upfield, repositioning to cover, setting up screens for a turn or two from now. That it's one of those where a person can learn a lot, how to play the different agility teams just by seeing some of these coaches and kind of how they position in that.
This is very exciting. Anything can happen. A touchdown can happen on any given turn.
And looks like they're going to have an attack on the Beastmaster, and that is a polar bear fisted attack right into the horns of the Beastmaster, and he's stunned.
Solid right cross.
Looks like the High Elves have basically built a nice little cage down there, and then they immediately leave a gap. Obviously, they're not very good at being a bashy team. That they are going to their AG ways and sticking with that for now.
I think that the conundrum was that they see, the top of that cage was in contact, and it was just they've got 4 players over there standing up, and what they don't want to do is let the floodgates open on that end. So they're probably willing to risk the dodge out and single attack from Slinich from behind, who's got wrestle, rather than let that strip ball in and then the floodgates of rats just swarm.
Wow. Having that guard piece move forward there really makes it a lot more difficult to get a good clean 2-die block there too, and right. It's probably the main reason why they went that route. And the Skaven are moving another player upfield to block to attempt to block off that next pass, and they're sending the big rat in, seek and destroy on the move. He's going to try and even the numbers upfield too. So the offense,
like a lot of teams, they'll just, especially bash teams, they'll ignore those elves sitting downfield with the guy in scoring position, and stuff is wise enough to know as a dodgy team. Like you said, this ball can come loose, pop into anybody's hands. Anybody can get it to those guys downfield. Those guys need to be covered the same way that people in the scrum.
Yeah, but the only disadvantage is that they're still not in a position where they can really get that clean block that they need. They just need one good clean block to break this whole thing open. And no strip ball on this one.
No, but
so this is going to be this is going to be a chain push, and that'll put the ball under threat again. But this is still one of those where it's going to be difficult again because they have guard in the area and a few other pieces where this is turning into a bashy team's scrum kind of approach. And will the thrower be able to get a clean hit, or maybe the gutter runner on the side there?
Ooh, so the thrower tries to get the 1-die block on him, but I was wondering if they were going to clear the. I was wondering if they were going to clear with the thrower. They're going to clear the thrower first, Sadric, and then follow up by moving the strip baller like closer as an assist for another hit. But no, he didn't want to hit with the journeyman. So,
well, little by little, they are freeing up the one gutter runner, the strength 3 gutter runner, and that just got taken away too with a.
This is risky. They're in contact with the ball carrier, but this is like asking for a surf on one of the end. I predict next turn one of these rats gets surfed.
He's following up, hoping to get the
yeah, and that's one of those where I'm not sure if it's going to be 1 or 2, but yeah, it's to the point where with this much contact this close to a sideline, one of these coaches is going to come up with a way to get a player off this field. And the snow boots are going to be on the triplets that are patrolling the sidelines because it's a little bit rugged out there. I'm not sure if the snow boots are more aggressive or less aggressive. That the triplets are tromping around in their Uggs today.
Likes to be well assisted in a fight.
By the way, Coach Sasser had posted in the chat the answer to our earlier question. Short pass is 6. He's up to 6. So
okay, so. Looks like they're slowly building an alley up that middle right now. It looks like that it almost looks like they're trying to. Now they're going up to clear the catcher.
Yeah, touchdown coming.
And the push will be enough. That'll clear him to. So we're looking at a possible could be a Rat Ogre interception maybe if the angle isn't right. I mean. I think Seek and Destroy could do pretty good,
I don't think he's going to give him that chance. I think what's going to happen is a handoff to Rack here, the catcher.
Here comes
he's going to run it.
The thrower's bread and butter.
Yeah, the handoff to him. He's going to run it
up.
Okay,
there you go.
Dodge his way up through. It's a 183% dodge, gets him closer to the other catcher, and you're going to see strike for a touchdown. A little disappointed that we didn't see the surf opportunity, but that might be coming after they get the ball to the catcher.
Well, at this point, I think they're more concerned about doing the pass and catch. And
successful pass.
No interception.
I think the angle didn't even allow the attempt at the interception, right?
I think it would have been close, but I didn't see a roll for it. So.
He's just going to squat. No attempts to surf or anything.
No, it's a solid, it's a solid approach. I haven't lost a lot of games where I scored more touchdowns than the other guy.
Needs to get back in the match, or else they're going to get slaughtered.
Man, and as the Princes are looking so good,
they're down
that it's like Dignity who?
Oh, I wouldn't go quite that far. They're a completely different, style of team and approach where you see a lot more of even leveling with this team. That Dignity was, specialized star players, and then the basic linemen and that. Where this is a little bit more evenly developed team. That I think the long-term goal for the Princes is going to be to be around the league for several seasons. Where I think Dignity showed up, and when they showed up, they knew that they had a lit fuse already. That at some point, the team was going to blow up and move on, and that change was going to happen one way or another.
Yep. Yeah, Dignity's kind of like Miami with LeBron and Bosch and Wade.
Oh yeah, it shows. It was one of those where they had something really good, but at some point it just you could feel that the wheels were going to come off.
And Princes seem more like Cleveland LeBron.
No, I think the wheels are going to come off that one too.
Really?
at least I'm hoping. I'm not a big basketball person. I just like to see the chaotic approach towards these things.
Well, I think that's what I'm saying. I think the Princes you're going to see them. They're looking more like that, like you said, more evenly built. This is a solid franchise that we'll probably see, maybe even eclipse the prestige associated with the Seattle Treehawks.
I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be one of those where it'll take them 2-3 years before I think they get the name recognition the same as the Treehawks, because I mean, the Treehawks were you know, they were one of the early franchises where people, you know, you watched them and went, well, even to get a tie against that team was something special for the longest time, because, you know, they're such a dangerous combination, and, you know, and to, like I said, to get a tie and just to be able to be, you know, in the same rank and really prove yourself to be able to run with the Treehawks was quite a feat for the longest time. So I was a little sad to see him go, but it's exciting to see the new team and Sacer come in and really have early success. So, you know, it's not the same team as the Treehawks, but, you know, they play a similar style, so you still get that exciting that exciting approach.
So relating this back to like the comparisons with the NBA,
stroking him on his belly,
there's in the NBA sector, there's a lot of discussion and comparing like the old school NBA, right? Like Wilt Chamberlain was a monster; he scored 100 points in the game, but a lot of people argue, well, he wouldn't be able to do that in today's NBA. The players are just overall much better, and, you know, that kind of stuff. Do you think the same holds true for the MML? Is there a difference in like Season 2 MML versus Season 6 MML?
Yes, I think the league itself is different. That you know, the teams are you know, higher TV, and you just kind of have, you know, different builds. You know, back in Season 2, Season 3, you didn't have, you know, 85 elite players all over the place, and, you know, all the specialization in that, where it was a lot more lower TV teams, and you know, the coaching was a little bit different, because you know, it rewarded consistency and that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that really changed the overall approach and just the play style was, you know, the blitzkriegers coming in and having just amazing quick success with that more aggressive playing style. And I think that opened the gate to show that, yes, you can take risks, you know, you can develop players that are exciting and different. And you know, they always put on such a great show, and just people fell in love with them so quickly that it was one of those where I think a lot of coaches kind of felt more free to experiment with different stuff like that and play teams a little bit differently. You know, that you're always going to have certain coaches and teams that are going to be very traditional, and then you're going to have, you know, an equal amount of teams that are coming in and playing really aggressive and exciting. So I think that, you know, that the, you know, small ball kind of approach has been proven in the MML now, that you know, that teams can come out and shoot the three-pointer and put up big numbers, that we've seen, you know, 6-point games, you know, on a semi-regular basis now. So I mean, that's definitely out there, and that's a playing style. But there's also the, you know, the wrecking crew style approach, where, you know, teams that are well built and slowly developed still have a spot too, where, you know, that team build is still valid too. So yeah, it's one of those where I think
you got to just be ready for more. You can't get good at one general defense. You also have to be prepared for these, you know, run and gun offenses, you know, whereas you may not have seen that much in the first couple of seasons.
Yeah, and I think it's just a little bit more of a balance than it was previously. I think previously we had a lot of bashier teams, and a lot of the coaches were lower TV, bashier, and you had to get used to it, and you had to get good at playing against it and playing it. Where now you have to get good at playing against these, you know, these dodgy teams. You got to get used to, you know, finding a weakness in the screen and positioning and that kind of stuff. So it's more of a different monster is all. And I think it's, you know, it's to the point where a lot of coaches are learning at a really rapid rate because of the different players and approaches that are now in the league.
Have you had the chance to play with Nurgle a lot yet?
I haven't even built a Nurgle team.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit behind the curve on that, because I've just been playing a little bit with Necro lately. That I was still, you know, a little bit behind on that. That I was kept plenty busy with a few other things and that. So no, I've looked at them, and I just, for me, my biggest problem is that I can't look at Nurgle without thinking of Chaos.
Yes, or like a stinkier Chaos team.
The thing about Blood Bowl,
well, no, it's
might have that soap debate between those two.
joy of death.
It's crazy.
Well, no,
Orcs,
my biggest
dwarfs,
problem is
men,
I just
even
every time I
beastmen
look at one of their
sharing the
players or that, I
delightful
just go, in
violence
my
of the
head I go,
stadium,
yeah, but my
and
chaos
all
guy's better than that. You know,
see
in my
some
head I just look at it and go, oh, but
shredding
my chaos guy can do this, or my chaos guy does this or that, or he has more movement or agility or whatever. I need to give him a fair shake and go through and play with the different builds and stuff like that and see what I really think of them on that. But yeah, it's one of those where I don't think they, for me personally, they don't bring enough of a change from what I'm already playing, so I probably won't, you know, give them a whole lot of time in that. But I think it's one of those where if a coach hasn't played much, and another wild animal for Seek and Destroy. But yeah, for coaches that haven't played Chaos, or even Orcs for that matter, because they do have some similarity to Orcs with the speed and different stuff like that. But yeah, for coaches that haven't haven't experimented with some of the different ones like that, I think it's a great opportunity to play around with some of the skills and that stuff.
Yeah, I had a similar thought when playing with Nurgle. I haven't played with them extensively at all, but I did download it and played a game or two with them, and I just was thinking, you know, I could build a Chaos team just like this one, but with better stats, you know, with better like actual attributes like the movement and agility. But you know, it's like with dwarves, right? Dwarves, you lose out on the movement, but they come with all of these skills already inherent to them. So then you can get more skills that you normally wouldn't be able to get to purchase because, you know, you would have wasted your first, or burnt your first few levels on. Yeah, there's a nice little dodge and blitz.
Yeah, and this is looking like they're trying to
3-0 area.
They're trying to get another score here before the half. They're trying to get that 3-0.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would have burnt the reroll on knocking that guy down because they may need it for the, you know, for the pass or for the.
Wow,
you know,
the ball's in 2 tackle zones, so it was one of those where I think they were trying to clear one of those tackle zones.
Oh, where's the duck? I didn't see the second one. Oh, there he's sitting behind the
and this is shaping up for a nice quick little pass here, and they could be off to the races quite easily here.
I think you're thinking, yeah, it's either going to be a pass or dodge. Oh, he leaps out.
Or we just take the short route and make it even quicker. That's like I was saying, AG5 leap is I do not have an answer for it. It is the scariest combination of skills that I see.
Tentacles, we were seeing in the MML chat earlier today. It's 3-0, by the way. Princes of Arioch before the half. This is, I mean, right now the Princes are on pace to tie the MML record of 6 touchdowns in one game. Al Bundy, eat your heart out. Your 4 touchdowns in one game are nothing. The new hotness is 6, and even maybe 7 one day. We'll see.
Seven's a huge number. I think that's going to be really difficult to do, but I think to get 7, it's going to take a team that is, you know, just on fire as far as kickoff events and even armor breaks, just to get the additional space to maneuver enough to get that kind of that kind of touchdown.
Definitely, it'll be tough. But I mean, with the way the league is going.
They're dropping back in a one-turn defense now, so.
Yeah, which is smart because if any team can one-turn, easiest is the Rats. And actually, the Rats have a one-turn. They have a true one-turner.
Do they have a natural one-turner? I think it's a forward one-turner.
You're right. I didn't realize he didn't have sprint. I just assumed that once you have movement 10, you're getting sprint on your very next kill.
No, but the interesting thing about it is that. If they had if he did have the sprint, he would also be able to blitz away the player in the way because
of the horns.
He also has horns. Yeah, that instead of having to dodge all the way through, he can just, you know, headbutt the catcher that's in his way and just force his way through. But I don't know if they even would really want to take that risk to go for the one turn. No re-rolls, and then also it's still a blizzard, and that's pretty low percentage.
True. But I mean, you got to try though. You're down 3-0. I mean, if you go into the second half, down 3-1, and do they get the ball back? Yeah, they get the ball back. You know, you're looking at a potentially different game.
Anybody got any playing cards?
So, I think you got to try.
Hey, who knows the rules for Ratlings in the club?
I think if it's me, I do try, but it's one of those where I don't walk in with expectations that it's going to work. It's just so difficult. It's, you know, like I might throw a few extra blocks elsewhere just you know, before I really got into the, you know, oh, we're going to actually try the one-turner kind of a thing.
I will say this. You got sure hands on the thrower, right? So that's already, you get your reroll there for the pickup. So you don't have to burn a reroll there, or you don't have a reroll there, but that's fine. You might get a reroll on the pickup, right? You got pass on it. So you get to reroll errant pass. And then you got dodge on the gutter runner, you know, so if one of your dodges fails, you're still fine. But yeah, the thing you're going to be stuck with is the go for it's at 67%. Blizzard sucks. So unless the weather changes on the kickoff event, which
could happen. I mean,
the most likely weather event change, or the most likely kickoff event, right?
It's either that or the free reroll.
No, 3 rerolls are I think a 8 and a 6 on the kickoff table.
How many halflings?
Yeah, so you see one of those pop up right now. It's cheering fans. I think that
Well, they're
one's the
very
8.
short, so
If I'm not mistaken.
maybe quite a few.
My experience, it takes 6. 1 to change the candle, and 5 for me to eat.
He's got the player set up fairly well for it, that he has to come in and push him straight forward.
Oh dear. I hope that player has written a will.
And does get the push, and he's pushing on the guard player, so.
You should know, you've interviewed enough of them.
You know, the other thing is, if he can get enough pushes, I mean, you don't have to settle for the 1 push, right? He's now in position to 1-turn with 2 go for it, but, I mean, why stop there? You keep it up, you can push him another square, and then there's only 1 go for it.
Yeah, and he can, I believe with the Frenzy, if he repositions a few players, he may be able to get another push out of it. I don't know if pushing a player straight down would do anything, but yeah, I mean, it's to the point where now he's within the range of it. But yeah, it's still one of those where it's gonna be risky at some point. So looks like he's gonna, you know, try and get this pass in first, and he may actually have to move forward to get the pass. No, looks like he's just within range.
I think with no rerolls, I think you gotta just make the pass straight through, right? You don't go for the quick pass to the
Did you see the
patch cut and then the
You sometimes miss the
No, you go direct.
desperately
straight through.
being hit.
So now they do have the
It was a
distance.
50% pass, by the way. That was a 4+ pass. So risky, but with the reroll, I think 75% instead of the 2.
Yeah, and I've it's one of those where once you get that reroll in there, it's, you know, I've done a lot of long distance passing with Skaven, and it's
I kind of don't like this, man. You see, that's why I don't like it, because he could have got an extra push or 2 out of it, and then you wouldn't have got downed by the, you know, going for that was a wrong. So,
yeah, it was one of those where it was gonna be tough either way. I think it was a good attempt, but yeah, I don't think you walk into that with the feeling like it's a high percentage play by any means.
They should replace that player before they lose any more.
there was a 1 on the field.
They've kicked the ball to the opponent.
Take a look at the
Now
so
it's time to think.
yeah, so one of his dodges failed. He re-rolled it to a 2, and then the going for it failed, which would have been the next dodge. So he would have failed the next dodge anyway. So
I gotta say, this is a pretty good looking stadium too.
Yeah, the Princess.
Yeah, the Prince has got a real nice looking stadium. I like the torches and the in the snow and all that. It's just it's a pleasant environment, you know.
The torches are lit so that if, you know, the blizzard is making the fans uncomfortable, you know, it's some torches.
Warm yourself by the scary purple fire. It's natural, right? You just put some what is it? There's a copper in there, makes blue, and magnesium makes a different color. I'm not sure which color makes purple, but you know, yeah, they're just burning some strange chemicals. No big deal.
I like don't ever say Shats doesn't know his alchemy.
I do what I can.
So wow, this game getting out of hand very quickly, and you know, I don't think that the nice thing about this is that you know, even though it's not a close game by any means, it's still kind of a fun game to watch just because of the potency of the offenses. You know.
Well, the one thing that's a bit surprising for me is that we've only had really the one injury. Like everything else has been pretty above board. That it hasn't been to the point where the skating got completely bashed down or anything. That it's just kind of a, you know, the blocks have been successful, but there hasn't been like that one-sided where one team just all of a sudden just disappears and half their team's gone. Like there's still a full field of players that are going at it, so it's keeping the positioning and all that stuff very competitive and to the point where it's, you know, it's not that that one team can get sloppy and make mistakes. That both teams are still you know, they're still in the hunt and they have to keep on guard because yeah, the threats equal on both sides.
I would even say for most teams, I think, you know, down 3-0, the game is over. But you know, theoretically, I mean, this is not over yet.
No, they still have, I believe, 3 gutter runners. They have a strength 4 storm vermin. I mean, they can impose their will just as much as any other team. And yeah, it's one of those where it's just as easy for them to put up 3 points as the Princes did the previous turn. So I mean, it's one crazy kickoff event and Nuffle stepping up and saying, well, maybe you don't get that handoff, or maybe that pickup's going to fail one too many times. Because there's still a
wizard out there too.
They've gone into the opponent's tackle, so should be good.
Yeah, and that's one of those where I wasn't going to say anything, but that opening formation that they have is a little dangerous. That it does put a pretty big amount of their team, you know, kind of in one location. That if you know, I've always had dreams of stacking up 9 dwarves in one square and then just dropping a fireball on them in the middle of, you know, as the last action. Like that's the things that I like to think about. You know, where we don't know what the scheme would think about. Maybe they think about doing it to high elves.
Ooh, here comes the Rattle with Seek and Destroy, actually living up to his name for a minute. Well, maybe not destroying, but he's taking him off the pitch for the current drive at least. And but you know, the work starts. You gotta you know, lay one brick at a time, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good position for him again, though. Like that frenzy is dragging him in to take up more tackle zones, and that's one of those things where I think they're gonna want to keep doing that. Oh, we got a failed go for it.
So that blizzard is coming to effect, and you really, I know that you've got a lot of rerolls to start the half, but it seems to me like, you know, the fame factor is on the Arioch side because they keep winning those kickoff events for more rerolls. So I don't think you should bank on the chance of you getting much more rerolls, and you can't burn them with silly things like that.
I think they were targeting a player that's been an issue for them. So I think that was it was more of an approach of going, well, we really need to get a clean hit on this player. You know, they were willing to push the extra reroll. Speaking of pushing, they're going to push that Rat-Ogre and his tail into just a mob of high elves. Now, this is not what you want to be looking at if you're a high elf. That tail whipping back and forth and, you know, threatening to keep you from doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Feels like Stuff and Junk keeps running out of time.
It's one of those where, yeah, they've had a few turns where it came real close and they've been sprinting at the finish. But I think part of that is that they have to be extremely careful with the Princes, because it's just so threatening. If you don't get your players set up just right, they're gonna leap, dodge, you know, send a catcher upfield, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with a situation that steadily keeps getting worse and worse.
True. But, you know, a good counter to that is get some of your, you know, get a scoring threat upfield. And, yeah, you can have the Storm Vermin score. Theoretically, the Journeyman can even make it in there, too. But I think you need a gutter runner up there to really kind of put the fear in the Princes. They're all stacked up on the other side of the field. And to end that turn with no gutter runner within scoring distance when you had the opportunity on the other side of the field, I don't think they're going to give that back to you.
Well, it's one of those where the Princes are starting to play a little bit more cautiously. It would look like that they're taking time to bash a little bit more in that, where it could be to the point where both coaches kind of looked at the scoreboard at halftime and went, well, no one's gotten hurt seriously quite yet. Maybe we can just feel it out a little bit in the beginning. And yeah, I think it's going to take the ball going back on the ground or something like that to really get both coaches going at full speed again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that could be it. You're right. Arioch may just be saying, you know what? Once he gets within at least 2, maybe then I'll start playing real
This
deep.
player keeps on going and going.
And we saw another one of those re-rolls, a vanity re-roll, where they re-rolled from the both down into the attack, and now
Why
we
not?
see him continue on.
Let's keep feeding him to him.
So it looks like the High Elves are gonna go base up the gutter runners now that they're getting into the mood to do a little bashing and a little bit of scoring.
Yeah, and this is so it looks like Arioch is gonna play D. This is not your the High Elves have gotten such a bad rap over the past season after the supposed no defense gate. But this Arioch team is aggressive. They don't care. We're up 3-0. We want 4-0. We're gonna rip this ball from you. We're gonna take this record right out of the hands of those 3 teams that currently hold it. And then we're gonna sit there and smile to ourselves while MTV complains in the chat saying it wasn't a legitimate game.
Well, I would say that this one would definitely be a legitimate game. That these both these teams have been going at it, but this is one of those where they are taking the opportunity to become the aggressor, though. It's one of those where every time they kick off, that they are cleaning up kind of where the contact is, and then they're spreading out and trying to make those decisions of where to go, which players to move, and just leaving it open that if a failure should happen, that that there's going to be a punishment. There's going to be a player in the area, or there's going to be a tackle zone on the ball. So this is one of those where they're just slowly, they're slowly kind of covering the entire field, because the one thing that you notice is they've got their blitzer back again. They've got their catchers forward again. That they have a particular style that they like to do, and they're keeping their mobility still very strong, and it's to the point where it puts additional pressure on the Skaven, because they can't retreat back much further, because it doesn't do anything. They're still within range. So
there's nowhere they can go right now that they can't get touched. That's the problem. The rats are spread out way too far.
And I think that was the purpose of that last turn, was literally just to cover the entire field so that there was no escape path.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish I could do that with a Chaos team, just cover the entire field with Beastmen, but you would get ran right around in circles. So this is one of those where one of the strengths of the High Elf is that they have the armor value and the strength to stand on their own. With the Rat Ogre and the one Storm Vermin being the only stronger players, that they can mark up a player and not have to have that same level of concern as lower strength teams or lower armor value teams.
A good time.
Yeah, that's why I kind of feel like it was a disadvantage for the Rats to not have a gutter runner in scoring position, because then you could have these elves kind of do that, push into your side, do all these things, and then this, instead of this handoff, this could have been a pass to that gutter runner. We could have then just scored.
Oh, we're gonna get a Skaven cage. Who wants a Skaven cage? We want a Skaven cage.
Difficult to catch.
Tail jump.
Yeah,
All you need
and
is the tail.
as I was saying, Dunk has a touchdown set up for next turn that the Elves may have some trouble stopping.
Yeah, the only thing that really makes this complicated is that no matter what you do with caging and that, they still have that AG5 leap that can just come in and just ruin your day.
True.
But other than that, yeah, no. I mean, the Skaven did a good job. They got their positioning in. They've got their gutter runners and Storm Vermin all in position, and it's a solid looking cage, but it's one of those where it's so difficult to stop that. Like I said, the combination of AG5 and Elite, it's just so difficult, and you know it's going to happen again and again. And you know, if you want to put a bullseye on a player, make him do stuff that no one can figure out how to stop, because people will come after him.
It's been like, all right, you can have this touchdown while I foul the hell out of this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done anything like that yet, but I mean, it's crossed my mind many a time. You know,
he's not even gonna leap in shots. This guy's not gonna leap in. He's gonna dodge in, and yeah, this is about to get.
He's just walking in now. Why? Well, I mean, he doesn't have to dodge in even. He just walks in.
Oh, that's right. No, they've cleared everybody now. Yeah, now that
he walks in and slaps him at this point. I mean,
that's why I really was wondering the wisdom of leaving that. Like, I know he didn't want to take a block with a journeyman, but you got a 2-die block on a guy to clear him away. Instead, he left somebody in contact with his cage.
Dung is about to hit the fan.
And that happens.
It's a risk, but it's one of those where I don't think they had a whole lot of other options. You know,
I'm saying they could have just hit him with the journeyman. Like, he didn't want to risk hitting the journeyman with the 2-die block when he had the chance, and instead he let these other elves come in and turn that into a 2-die block in his cage. Where if he would have cleared them, you would have seen the 1-die block leap in there.
I don't know. It's one of those where it's difficult either way.
Ooh, failed pickup. This could be big.
And the second chance goes. And he can walk it clean over to the catcher, you know, rub some of the dirt and snow off of it, hand it over to him, and off they go.
Wow, 4-0.
And that was 2 turns. 2-turn score. So at this pace, they're still on pace for breaking the record. But yeah, it's tough because, well, like I said, they fan their defense out. They put their guys in scoring positions, and then, you know, because they're covering all the field, then when they constrict their players in, they can pull them in and put them into the, you know, into either pieces of the cage or wherever they want to go with them, and slowly, yeah, they come in, pop the ball loose, use a reroll to pick the ball back up, and then it's just handed off and away you go.
This is, I mean, I know it would be cool to see MML history made here right now, you know, while we're announcing it. At the same time, as somebody who is in the conference with the Princes of Arioch, I just don't want to see them continue to rack up SPP like this. And the weather's finally nice. I'd say this game is out of hand at this point.
Yeah, well, now that the weather's better, I mean, the offenses can get started, you know, and all that stuff.
Now it can get started, right? When it's 4-0, the offense.
Let's blank out the score. Let's start it over. Let's do 2. No, but it's one of those where this isn't going to make you feel any better, but that catcher just leveled up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
this team's getting scarier and scarier.
Those players.
It's just going to be one of those situations where, yeah, you know, you got a combination of a good coach that knows where he's going with each of his players and what he's doing with them, and it's, you know, like, he's going to show up and put in a competitive game every week, and you just have to know going in that, you know, the one thing that you're not good at, he's going to focus on really putting pressure on you for that. So, like, his game plan for a Skaven team is going to be very different from Orcs. It's going to be very different from, you know, Necro. It's going to be different from Norse. You know, he's going to have a game plan where he comes in with a different style, where if you're bashing, then he's going to stay out of contact. He's not going to be as aggressive. That he'll use his positioning to put the pressure on, but he's not going to be, you know, going up and marking players like he did with the gutter runners.
Right.
And we're going to see that same blitz come in, and this time they're actually going to get a good solid hit on the AG5.
Here's your cool. And to be fair, Stuff and Junk's team still probably they're still out from being optimal.
I would have gone for them as well.
Would say, because they're Storm Vermin. I mean, you got an AG4. I'm sorry, you got a Strength 4 Storm Vermin, which is great, but to really get him where he needs to be, he needs Mighty Blow and Claw.
That weedy fella's gonna get.
Well, and the other thing that they're missing is the guard. You know, if you get your storm vermin and your rat ogre, you get guard on them. It can open up those blocks for the rest of the pieces that aren't developed yet. You know, the line rats don't have to work as hard to get those blocks. You know, you don't have to bring your gutter runners into contact to get that extra assist. So, yeah, it's one of those where I think they're right there on the cusp. I think they have a lot of talent on the team, and that in another season, you know, maybe two, that you know, with a little good health, that you're looking at a very competitive, well-built team. It's just those last couple of skills to really to bump some of these some of these scrums. Like, you know, we saw a big scrum with a bunch of players. Well, would that have been the same if there were, you know, a gutter runner with guard in the area? All of a sudden, those blocks become a lot easier. They're able to pry that ball loose and get it into the end zone. So, yeah, it's one of those where, you know, they're playing one player down. You know, they're playing with a wizard and a few things like that. And yeah, I mean, they have to rely on a little bit more luck than a team that has a lot of developed players and a lot more extra skills. So, you know, it's tough.
Everything you were saying, by the way, had me very hopeful about the future of this team until you said with a little good health. And we all know that's the major problem for these Skaven teams, the little good health part.
Well, they've been doing solid so far, though. I mean, they had the one player go out, but I mean, for the most part, yeah, they're not putting their players at high risk. You know, they're getting hit by, you know, the blitzes. They're getting hit by, you know, a player in contact here or there, but their positioning's been solid. It's just one of those where it's difficult with, you know, with not having a little bit better movement. You know, difference from the other team. Like, if this is a chaos team, or so they, you know, they're given that one extra turn to really set up and get that 2-turn offense that they were working at. You know, if there wasn't a, you know, just an insane, you know, AG5 leap player that just can twist up your entire team. Oh,
ooh, we could be seeing a right now. If you're the rats, I'm not even sure if I think the first thing I do right now is make the throw to the gutter runner. I'm not even throwing a block at this point until I try to take advantage for the quick score. Unless you've just given up on the game, which might be the case.
I don't know. At this point, I think I roll the dice. I blitz the rat ogre on the AG5. You know, just swing with my mighty blow piece and try and take out that nightmare. Even if you can just get a KO, it'll open up a lot of field, and it'll take a huge piece off their team. You know, for me, I look at it a little bit differently, where it's like, at this point, to really get things moving, I take a swing at a player that's gonna you know change the tide for me.
Yeah, but now that he has the pass completed, and it's sitting in the gutter runner's hands, he can just score. Yeah, I get it. You take your hits, but he's gonna say, "No, hell no, I'm just going to take it before these guys have a chance to something stupid to happen."
Well, and that's going to be, you know, solid SPP for a talented player too. So, you know, you don't want to take that out of the sand either. I know that for me, a lot of times I like to just score, but it's one of those where in a game like this, it's tough. You really got to get the SPP where you can, and you know, three for touchdowns. You know, that can go a long way. You know, we've seen on NTB's team, Rodentia ad nauseum, that you know, they've had one player that's been just one SPP away from leveling for, you know, several games, and yeah, it's sometimes just getting that one little touchdown or one pass or something like that, just to get that extra level. So yeah, that could be part of it, is just trying to get that a little bit extra SPP to get that next skill that you need.
Well, if he could get one completed pass and a touchdown, he's on his next level. No, I'm sorry, 2 more touchdowns. He's on his next level. That's two more touchdowns. He needs 6 more. God, be smashed.
And I gotta say, this is a pretty good looking defensive setup here. That I like the overall formation of it. That they really kind of fanned out, and you know, they're going to take some hits up front, but they have kept their mobility, you know, in a good position there, where they can cover quite a bit of ground with the gutter runners in the back there, but they still put enough pressure on the on the high elves to kind of make their positions careful.
They're getting up close and personal, Bob.
Look at that.
Need to be
Elves are
close.
going
And the
gutter runner.
skulls are real.
Smell your breath and see the dead
It's like
insects.
Nuffle said, I gave you all your good luck in the first half. Good luck is done.
I think Nuffle might be worried about the scoring record here. I mean, they're putting on the brakes hardcore.
I
We'll
think
see.
they've run out of time. There's no way. They might get 6, but they're not getting 7. There's just not enough time on the scoreboard.
Yeah, they're putting they're putting catchers upfield. They're putting the players in good positions for a quick score. That they're definitely looking at continuing the scoring on that. And I mean, they've been putting pressure on the other team the entire time, so it'd be a little shocking to see them let off the gas at this point.
The ball is in the player's hands. What next?
Nice pickup.
And moving forward, are we going to
this
see a
is
handoff here
aggressive.
in the sideline cage? It looks like the beginnings of a... No, they're not.
That's the
Throw right over the rats.
Oh,
No, they're going to throw it back. Yeah, they're setting up for a sideline cage here, it looks to be. That they did do that previously. So they're gonna scamper clean through and get the ball up the field. That's all that mobility that I liked about this defense is just getting screened away now.
And in general, fans are much more dangerous than players.
And with the blizzard gone, he's using all of his go for it.
Yeah. That's what I told you. This is one of the things that this guy likes to do.
On the edge of the field,
Sasser
within
loves his
grasping
go-for-its.
range of the fans.
And
Hungry.
dodge not used. Dodge triggered on the second one that he's bringing the ball up safely in his nice little cage.
And he's like, this is happening. Whether you like it or not, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I hate to say it, but at about this point, if I'm the Skaven, I start swinging for the fences. I start breaking elves.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this. I'm taking seek and destroy, and I'm letting them explore the studio space. And let's see if the wrestle triggers. They do take the wrestle.
The one tackle piece, and him laying on the ground, so this is going to affect his mobility for next turn. Ooh, just right past the first time tail. Don't care.
Yeah, and I will let you know that as a coach that uses prehensile tail, it's just pisses you off to no end when they go right through your tails. And fireball!
I forgot about the fireball.
2 for the fireball.
Oh, the fireball kills one!
Today's player.
Chargros is dead!
That's going to be an appo.
That is a movement 9 catcher who has leveled up,
They're going to spend time on the bench for that.
and it looks like Sasser.
What's that going
Sasser
to be?
put these. Oh, he's
This
gonna miss
next
the
game,
next game.
somebody just got a nice little present there, and the ball goes safely into the other catcher's hand.
Man, Stuff and Junk. So nice little side cage set up by Sasser, and Stuff and Junk saw that as a big menu serve up of his for him to drop that fireball.
Yeah, it was a good swing of the fireball. Only got the 2, and 2 out of 3. That ain't bad. But yeah, this is one of those where it does open up an opportunity for them to try and do a few things, but it's going to be tough for them to really change the field to the level that they need it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I can think is if they can get a crowd scatter to help them out.
Put pressure
Oh
on them
yeah,
all.
that could
Can't argue
change
with
things.
And let them run to the ball, pick it up, and get upfield. But it's still one of those where the mobility of the high elves is just so much that it's going to be difficult. And here comes the strip baller,
baller.
You need balls to score.
and they need the strip baller. So they're going to force him into the sideline. Back a bit, too. Where's the scatter going to go? Oh,
worst possible
come
place.
on. Let the crowd have some fun. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow right there. You know,
I'm wondering why he pushed him that way. Why push him in the direction of his teammate to where the ball could be walled off instead of right in front of you, where he's trapped against the sideline and that ball? I guess he didn't want to risk that ball going into Beastmaster's hands. Is all I can think of.
I think it's one of those where it's. I think hindsight's 20/20. I probably would have pinned him against the sideline, but I think there's also, you know, as a chaos coach, I look at it and it's always one of those where I get the feeling like, oh, the further away I can push a guy from the end zone, the better it is for me because he's away from the end zone, kind of a thing. So, I mean, I think there's a certain psychology to looking at the player and going, I just don't want him to score, so I need to push him away from where he's going to score.
Yeah. It's just that unfortunately with the other catcher in the range and the other elves in range, I mean, they're at this point what's going to happen is that catcher is going to dodge out, grab that ball, hand it off to the other catcher who's going to easily dodge out and run for the touchdown. I mean, that's if we don't start seeing a bunch of blocks first.
Well, yeah, it's going to be difficult because they have enough mobility that they can they have an AG5 leaper. He can just walk in there and leap over half the players probably. I mean,
true.
And they walk over to the AG5 and they hand it to him, and that's going to be a walk-in touchdown for 5. Oh wait, no, there's one goal for it. I mean, at this point, they might as well just leap him in.
Just for show.
And I don't know if anybody's been taking note of this, but the Princes have been making sure to score every touchdown that they can immediately on top of the Ratlings logo, and they just simply drop the ball in the logo, and then laugh. that whenever they have the mobility to pick where they stand for their touchdown, it's always immediately on top of the Ratlings logo. So I don't know if there's anything behind that or not, but they have definitely chosen one location to score all their touchdowns.
Hashtag disrespect. That's frustrating to drop a fireball on the other side like that and have that result happen.
Well, yeah, the fireball did a fairly good job, but the between the fireball and the ball scatter, I mean, those are two things that are out of the coach's control. All you can do is make the choices that feel right at the time, and then go from there.
Yet another reroll for the Princes shots. It's been like 3 or 4 already.
Yeah, and that's one of those where we don't get to see what the fanfare numbers are during the game. I know that
those vermin are fast.
That it would be interesting to see that because it's really one of those where you see games like this where it's the fans seem to be extremely one-sided, and it really makes it difficult. Like I've had a handful of times where you get the pitch invasion, and that's the one that just you see them every now and then where it's a pitch invasion and half of one team is just decimated and the other team's just like, wait, we didn't get a pitch invasion. What happened? Where it's just one team goes untouched.
And it's the same play from the Stormvermin. Princes keep lining up the same way, and Stormvermin keep exploiting and pushing them to the side like that, and it's deja vu.
Yeah, it's really to the point where they've got a good setup there. It's just they can't seem to get the blocks and the armor breaks to get a player or two advantage to really lock in the high elf.
The Blood Bowl groundhog day.
Yeah. I got you, babe. Do. I got you, babe. Grab your mittens, because it's cold out there. I may or may not have seen that movie one too many times.
Great movie. And Skaven continued successful blocks with just no armor breaks. That 88 holding up great.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those where, you know, they've gone into the you know, the full court press here,
Yes,
with only leaving the thrower back by his lonesome to deal with the ball and all the rest of the throwing. So it looks like, yeah, this offense is going into full attack mode. That the patient screening and that is now a thing of the past.
I'm wondering whether I think Sasser's pride will force him to play strong D, but you could definitely see some other coaches, you know, really kind of just saying, "Screw it, I'm up 5-1. Why subject my players to Madden?"
I will say this: there will be a player in scoring position at the end of this turn. I don't know who the player will be, but I have to imagine there will be a player up in the throwers area to put that threat on them again.
I agree.
It's just, you know, they're both too good of coaches for them not to, you know, make the right positions and make the moves that they need.
Ooh, the double skulls. That's the third double skulls. 1 in 36 chance, and that's the third time it's happened to the Princes, but they just keep, the rerolls are working. I mean, that's okay when you have an endless set of rerolls, I guess.
Yeah, and that was the AG5 leaper, so it'll be interesting to see if he just jumps out of there and decides to go somewhere else.
You know what occurred to me? We won't get to see the fame. We'll, maybe through Sasser's Twitch, we'll get to see what the fame pack is. But we won't see it on Cabal Vision, probably.
Yeah. So they've marked up two of the gutter runners. Here comes a third one, and that's going to put that tackle piece in the middle of all of them. Only affects the one player, but yeah, that's one of those where, for me, like I was saying previously, you know, with tackle and tail, you try and
get up or get off.
Failed, go for it. Racker's going to be stunned, and this is going to be a Skaven touchdown.
I hope. I really hope, because it's one of those where they've taken quite a pounding, and it'd be good for them to, you know, get another player with a touchdown. Maybe find a guy that can level, give you another threat in the next game.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't waste time with the blocks yet if I'm trying to score. There you go. We can do this first in case you need to reroll for a catch.
Start something exciting in the dying moments of the match.
Or errant throw. Gee.
Yikes.
Yeah, this is.
That's tough. That is tough.
So you think that you think that they're going to run down there and try and score again? Oh, Nuffle is done with this game. This game is over. Nuffle's like, you had your fun. I'm gonna freeze the dice for everyone. Yeah, double ones, double skulls.
He's protecting the integrity of the MML record books.
Successful hammer.
Yeah, it's just strange to see so many, you know, built-in rerolls just double fail so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And does that one go for it? Touchdown. And they're in. So getting the second touchdown to the Beastmaster, you know, may ease a little bit of the pain, but yeah, it was a tough game for the Skaven. Yeah, it's just every now and then you just have a game where the dice and positioning don't work for you. That might have been the Ratlings game this time, because I didn't see any glaring mistakes or anything like that. You know, it's just one of those where the high elves really are difficult to deal with. You know, they have the speed and the agility to really get into the cage and get into different positions, and yeah, when the dodges are working, you know, it's an absolute nightmare. It makes a 16-turn game feel like an eternity. So we're gonna see a one turn?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. It looks like he's setting up the way that Seston did as well. This is not your standard. Okay, now they're going to it.
Well, the thing is they're going to need some extra pushing because the movement 8 player is actually, or the movement 9 player is off the field, so that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But they do have the leap player, and they also have a sidestep player, so I mean they could go either way with that. And
Leap
Frenzy.
is great. Like, Leap is great for that finisher, but when you've got like these multiple players set up the way they are like down, I think the sidestep makes it a lot easier.
And a free reroll for everyone.
This is going to be decisive.
Looks like they're going to try and maybe throw a block on the rat over first.
I don't think they're. No, this is not going to be a. This is going to be a one-turn.
Unless they're trying to load up. No, they're just throwing blocks at this point.
I love the sound of the Skaven when they're
They also don't want to be bothered with all that shit pushing and stuff. Like, wow, I haven't stamped on enough rats.
And bringing in the assist that they're going for Seek and Destroy now.
Seek and destroy. Nope, it don't work like that.
They're still standing.
Seek and destroy is like back up off me. The scrap.
So which player's gonna farm the one SPP pass?
The attacker has an assist.
Oh,
Unsuccessful attack. Vanity reroll. Unsuccessful.
Good call.
Par for the course.
Intimidation is the key. It was one of my strengths when I was playing.
Oh, it doesn't even try to do that.
No, it looked like a failed pickup on that.
An incredible
That
I thought my heart
on
would
mine, I
almost
did see a
beat
player
on
run
more
off
than
to
one
that
occasion.
side. It was either a failed pass or a failed handoff.
I'm watching it on Sasser's Twitch. It's a failed pickup.
Failed pickup.
So finishing score 5-2, and let me see if we can see a Fame readout on Sasser's screen. And Sasser, you gonna jump in here for a post-game interview? Yeah. So Fame +1 for Sasser. That's what it was. Yeah. And it definitely showed up in those. Okay, no mic today for Sasser. It definitely showed up in those those rerolls. They were all going to the Princess of Arioch. I think that made a big difference. I think it also made a big difference that, you say there was no real mistakes by Stuff and Junk in terms of like your standard, I just bonehead did something that was just dumb. But I will say that I think that the Ratlings were not prepared for the kind of defense that the Princes were bringing, and when they brought it, it kind of screwed their whole game up. So,
yeah, it's difficult because with the high elves and that, they you expect them to do column and marking up players and different stuff like that, and they did more of an umbrella defense at times where they would just have players kind of in space waiting to play reactively, and it's difficult because you're used to people playing really aggressive and trying to get those hits, and I mean the hits do come at some point, but they're not seeking out a lot of that contact and a lot of that stuff right away like the Skaven are used to getting handled. So yeah, they do a few different things that make it difficult, and then they set teams up for if something should fail, that they're going to be able to capitalize rather quickly.
Hey, Stuff, I think Stuff is in the chat, if I remember, from earlier in the game. Did you get a post-game interview? Hey, so tough match, man. What started out... Yeah, what do you think was the difference here? What do you think were the keys to the game? What caught you off guard, if anything?
The High Elves were playing defense. That caught me way off guard.
It seemed like you started to adapt to it, though, toward the end of the game. Like, once you caught on, he runs these guys downfield. Like, I need to make sure I have a couple gutter runners down the field. So he forces me to quick score on him, but at least I get the quick score instead of, give him time to set up and mark everybody.
Yeah, I knew it was to the point of hoping for one of us to start getting the armor breaks, you know. Whoever started breaking armor first, you know, that trend usually tends to continue once you get a couple. But I wasn't able to get the upper hand there, and surprisingly, neither was he.
Yeah, very bloodless game for what we thought, you know, coming into this. Who do you have next on your schedule?
Let me check. Let's see. Next week is the Musalon Morning Stars at Sturm.
Oh, nice. This will be interesting. So, I'm playing on this week.
Did you know
my
the
Necklace Squad.
Spike Magazine trophy was
Romantic,
forged
so
in
I'll try and soften them
hellfire
up for you.
deep beneath the blighted cigarette?
Yeah,
Tsar Nagrund.
I was hoping to get
slaves
a
died
decent
creating
storm
it.
vermin in the market
But
this
it was the
past
lowest
season,
bid.
and kind of slacked on that. And then I realized that's one of my biggest weaknesses. You know, I've got a great offense, but I don't have much as far as anybody ready to hit anyone.
Well, you do have a strength 4 guy, so, you know, as you develop him, I'm sure he'll become a monster in due time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You got any questions for him, Shots?
I just want to let him know that that he shouldn't feel too bad. That week one, the Scuttlebutts struggled against the Princes. Also, that it may just be that the High Elves have a real solid game plan against Skaven. That the Princes were 4-1 against the Scuttlebutts. So at least your offense was able to get something going, and that near the end, and get some SPP. Like I was saying early in the broadcast, I think that your team's really nicely developed, and it's just one of those where it's going to take a few key levels and just a season with a little bit extra SPP and some health. And I think that the Ratlings are poised to really develop into a nice looking team for quite a while. But I just think it's just that next couple SPP and getting a few players ready. But no, it was tough to point out one point in the game where things went really off the rails. It was just one of those where little things here and there, and next thing you know, you're playing from behind the 8 ball. So no, it was a good game, and we all have those games. You deal with 1 or 2 a season, and yeah, not much you can do about them.
Oh yeah, man, this is only the Ratlings' second pro season, so we'll definitely be back, and definitely hoping to be a threat this season and next.
Well, yeah, I think you'll throughout this season you'll get a better feel for what the teams that you're playing against are trying to do in that. And, like I said, you got the players to do some good stuff. So I have high hopes for their future.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Hey, good luck, Stuff and Junk.
All right, guys, y'all take it easy.
All right, thanks for hosting, Sasser. Thanks for letting us announce it, guys. And great game, very exciting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Good victory for the High Elves on that, and looking forward to see what the rest of the teams in this pool are going to do this week.
Yeah, F4 conference is looking scary.
They always look scary. It's just the way it is.
Yep. All right, guys. See you later.
Yep.
Have you looked at Facetune recently, Bob? Did you know you have a fan club?
Have you looked at it, Jim? There's a petition to remove you from the air. getting bored, Jim. You know I have the attention span of a constipated snotling. When are we gonna get to see a game?
Thirsty, Bob?
Always, Jim.
Well, how about a refreshing glass of Bloodweiser? At Massive Bifford Fan on Twerper has just sent you a rather intimate message, Bob. Would you like to take a look?
Huh? What is ogre on ogre action?